Now, more of the MMA Plug with Jordan Kurtz on Mile High Sports.
Welcome back to the MMA Plug, presented to you by Mile High Sports on 98.1 FM, Mile High Sports Radio. I'm your host, Jordan Kurtz. You can give me a follow along online at Comments from the Peanut Gallery. Check out all things Mile High Sports related at Mile High Sports as well. We're going to be taking a dive into Kurtzy's Corner, and just probably, I would say, a couple of hours after we got off the air with you folks last week, there was a major bombshell of MMA news that was dropped on us. Kayla Harrison just pulled a Kansas City shuffle on everyone. What is that? Well, a Kansas City shuffle is when everyone looks right and you go left. Us included. We were speculating as to when the Cyborg fight would get made under that PFL banner since the merger with Bellator, and we thought it was just about a matter of time before the deal took place. But Kayla went and took our feet out from underneath us like an Uchimata and signed with the UFC. Now, Kayla's going to be taking on the 42-year-old former UFC champion Holly Holm at UFC 300 at, get this, bantamweight. How in the blue hell is Kayla ever going to make 135 pounds, and what will be the impact on her overall health and performance? We've already had the statement from Holly come out and say that she's most likely not taking the fight if Kayla can't make the weight. In another example, we saw how the attempt to get to 135 damn near killed Cyborg, and she couldn't get to that mark. Kayla's bigger. This also begs the question, is this responsible to make this fight at this weight when she's never competed professionally below the 145-pound mark, which was one time in Invicta, and she spent the rest of her MMA career, or for the most part, at 155 pounds. She had that catch weight this last year at 150. I don't know that I necessarily... is it realistic, as big and as muscled up as she is? Like, you would seemingly, like, she'd have to cut an arm off to be able to get down to 135. But look, if, and I still say this with skeptical hippo eyes in the largest degree, but if Kayla can pull off this weight cut and she's able to consistently make the 135-pound mark and ultimately able to make 135 scratch, then this division really is right for the taking right now. We said it right here on this program last week that the state of the women's bantamweight division as a whole is not good and that it desperately needs a breath of life. And Kayla Harrison, being the two-time Olympic and multiple-time PFL champion signing to it, is a breath of fresh air being added to that division. Now, she is already, she's 33, so she's not exactly someone who they're going to have for a long run, but they're going in on this with the thought that if Kayla can go and make championship weight, make this weight against Holly, get to 136, and then be able to, after that, if she gets a win against Holly, I could totally see her being inserted in the title mix right away. But with the state of the division, again, like we say, there's only a couple of big names right there on the entire bantamweight roster, and they're all, for lack of a better term, they're on the back nine. They're a little bit more on the age side. We just mentioned Holly being in her 40s. You have Misha, who is older now at this stage. You have Juliana, who is in her 30s. There's not a lot of young rising stars and prospects right now in that division. I also asked the question that with this fight being added to the UFC 300 bill, well, it certainly does add to the card, but does it potentially dull the signing or some of the attention or the luster, if you will, for Kayla Harrison? Because this fight will be on the prelims for that UFC 300 card. And I also say this because there's going to be, for the entire buildup of that card, so much pageantry, history, other noteworthy attention grabbers surrounding the UFC 300 event and the history leading up to that point, and just a ton of spectacle that could potentially make this debut or this signing of Kayla Harrison just kind of get washed in the mix, if you will. If this were, say, just for example, on a fight night card, and I know that some of the MMA fans out there are going to hate the suggestion of this because it's always one of the poked fun at memes or things out there with Holly Holm main event fight night cards. But if this were, say, on a fight night, you could put it at the top of that bill and you could devote a lot more isolated media content, attention, interview opportunities, features on SportsCenter, so on and so forth, directly for Kayla to try to build up that profile and maximize all of what you're getting for that signing, which I know she's not getting the same money that she was getting probably in the PFL, especially with those $1 million tournament prizes. But she's getting everything now that the UFC brings along with it. And it's kind of to the adage of what she herself said, that she's made a lot of money. She's gone out there and she's won the championships in the PFL organization. But since she got into fighting, she had the dream of being a UFC fighter. And this is the same adage that I've shared in many cases. If you have the opportunity to go out there and make more money in one, when it was still around in Bellator, now PFL, if you have the opportunity to go out there and make more money in those organizations, by all means, maximize that earning potential. But if you really do want to be considered in terms of the historical greats, you've got to have that UFC resume along with it. It's just something that I think that in this day and age, that those three letters are associated in relation to, in term, especially here in this part of the world, that is considered the gold standard for mixed martial arts. And I think that that's kind of what Kayla is trying to go out there and get. She wants to have that validation, I believe, of having UFC champion also associated with her resume. She's been a top-tier competitor in absolutely everything that she's done. I believe that she's going to go and try to follow up on that effort there. What do you guys think? Let me know on social media. That's me, Jordan Kurtz, at Comments from the Peanut Gallery on Instagram as well as Threads. Let us know on the Jocko Go hotline, 303-831-1340. Stick around after the break, folks. We're going to be going 3 rounds to close out the hour. This is the MMA Plug presented to you by Mile High Sports on 98.1 FM.
Thank you so much for watching. Please hit that like, share, and subscribe button. That helps us continue to produce this original MMA content and bring it for you every single week. Tune in to the MMA Plug on 98.1 FM, Mile High Sports Radio,